Today's guest is known as a richly melanated multi-hyphenate. She soars to the top as a true-to-herself best-selling author, speaker, business strategist, success coach, tech founder, and CEO of Reskillify.com, a transformational e-learning technology platform that teaches coaches and helps driven and audacious individuals level up in their careers, businesses, and day-to-day lives. She is the founder of the Cannabis Job Board.com, an online and mobile job board designed to inform, train, and connect job seekers with cannabis employers. And finally, she is the founder and CEO of Identifize Consulting, a recruitment and staffing consulting firm from which she coined the term staffingpreneur in 2008 and went on to develop the well-known Staffingpreneurs Academy, a digital business curriculum designed to educate aspiring entrepreneurs and provide them with the tools, skills, and resources they need to start, build, and scale their niche recruitment and staffing businesses. Welcome to the show, Coach Dee Williams.
Hey, thank you for having me here. This is exciting.
I'm glad you're here. How are you feeling today?
Man, this is a breath of fresh air. Let me just say that. I always say phenomenal. And I can say today, like just being here, being in your energy is such a blessing. So I'm feeling amazing.
Well, I feel the same about you. And just to give a little color to our history for our audience, Dee, actually, I've known her now for the past, 6 or 7 years?
It's been a while, yeah.
It's been a while. And basically, I got to know her because she was one of my very first business coaches. And actually, the year before I started my staffing business, I sought Dee out. I found her on YouTube, being her bright and bubbly self. And she was giving a coaching course about how to become a full-time entrepreneur in the staffing game. And eventually I joined her Facebook group. And then eventually shortly after that, I actually signed up to be one of her students. And it just hit it off from there. She did my audition website. She coached me into understanding the back end of staffing. And it's just an honor for me today to have you on the show, Dee, because I know that you have been such a force in my business life. And I'm just like, I got to bring her on. I got to talk to her. So welcome in today. I'm super happy to have you.
Meredith, I want to just quickly say for everyone else, I'm honored to be here. Like to be your coach and then to see you progress and grow over the years, it's just been so phenomenal. And I just want to say, I really appreciate you inviting me here in real life. Like I'm always cheering you on the back end, just so you know.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, to start off, Dee, please share a little bit more about who you are and what you do with the audience.
Yeah. So I'm Dee. Who am I? I am just somebody who's really passionate and fired up about life and about business and about technology. One of the things that people remember me for is kind of my childhood story, right? And how I have overcome a lot of obstacles and trials and tribulations over my lifetime, and still to end up in the space that I'm in is a pretty remarkable story. And so, yeah, that's who do you want me to get into my back end, Meredith, or do you want me to keep it light?
Well, we can get into your back end. I am going to ask you a few questions about your background throughout the conversation today. I plan on doing that at least.
Okay. So I'll tell you a little bit. So I was a preteen mom at the age of 11, had my first child at 12, my second at 15, who was a preemie. He was a 1-pounder, and got my first apartment when I was 15. And I've pretty much been on my own ever since. And it was a very interesting journey because I had to grow up very, very quickly in a world where, you really weren't respected as a Black teen mom. You were judged like every step of the way. I didn't get a chance to finish high school, unfortunately, because I didn't have any parents at the time to register me in the high school. So I became a 10th grade dropout pretty early on. And I just, went through, Baltimore is a hard place to grow up in, and just trying to find my path and trying to find my way and to be an amazing mom and to and not to be a quote unquote statistic was 100% that fueled me. It was my goal in life. I knew that it was so much more to me than what everyone else was telling me. And so that's kind of a little bit about my background. I'll wait and let Meredith ask me more questions, but just to give you some context of like my starting point, the road was rough. All I can tell you, it was a rough one, honey.
Well, I can say, look at you now.
Hello. No, okay. For real.
You're the boss.
Thank you.
Well, Dee, between the time I started working with you up until now, because I still reach out to you, you know, I am the one that would be like, ring.
What you doing?
At the 11 second, I have a question. It should be like, girl, if you don't set up an appointment. But between the time we started working together up until now, I have literally watched you soar in terms of your social media presence, the different avenues that you've pursued in order to scale your business. And just last year, you were also featured in one of the most major business magazines in the U.S., Black Enterprise.
Yes.
That's major. And again, congratulations to you because you did that. But in the midst of amassing all of that success in such a short amount of time, and I know 6 years may seem like a very long time to some people, but when you're an entrepreneur juggling millions of projects in life too, time really flies very quickly. But during that time up until now, how has life been for you? And what does it mean for you to be ahead of the curve or to create the curve in business? Because I believe you're curve creator.
Yeah, funny. So it's been a roller coaster, but I feel like a good roller coaster. I've had some really good successes and I've had some really major failures. And I think the failures are always a little bit challenging because you have, for me, I have an audience. And so when you're constantly looking for ways to expand your brand and to expand your empire, you have to test things. You can't just assume that because you create something that it's going to be amazing. So you have to test things. And a part of testing things is being prepared to fail and to and to take the feedback that people give you. And luckily, most people love me, so the feedback is nice, but there are definitely people who, you know, don't, and the feedback is crazy, you know, and I'm like, whoa. So I think over the last couple of years, it's just really been about becoming more fearless. I don't even know if that's possible, but just becoming more fearless in the things that I do. Finding self-love has been my journey for the past 6 years, past 5 years. So that has also been really intense. Like, you know, it's when your income grows so drastically, you almost have to transform yourself in a different way. I'm like a huge anime fan. So I say you powering up, you leveling up. And that's what I've done. And the cool thing is because I have an audience, and like you mentioned, I've been able to show people better than I can tell them. Because in the beginning, I was just telling them what they were capable of doing. And they were like, okay, Dee, you make me feel good. Okay, good. Right. But they didn't really believe it. And I was like, okay, so let me show you. And I think that's the most exciting thing, is to be able to really put my mouth, you know, put my actions where my mouth is, and to really show people like, hey, everything is possible in real life. You just have to just keep going at it, keep trying, and pray that what you're looking for, that comes to you in the right way and that it sticks. So that was the first portion. What was the second one?
Oh, the second one is just, I would like to know, how does it feel for you to be someone who is either ahead of the curve or a curve creator? And that's what I was saying. I think you are a curve creator.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely a curve creator. And it's exciting after the curve happens and I've already predicted it. It's really crazy when you start the curve. Because when you're starting a curve, you don't have anybody behind you saying, yeah, that's it. You're actually creating the curve from scratch. Mm-hmm. And so people tend to look at you differently, or they like, girl, that's not possible, or what are you doing, or what have you. And you really have to have like a lot of confidence and like it's just a strong voice when you're creating the curve. But I stand proud in who I am. I understand that I'm a visionary, right? Mm-hmm. I definitely can see things before they happen, but I also look for the curve. I look for patterns in history and what's going on currently. And I sit back and I listen a lot. Even though people think I talk a lot, I probably listen more.
You do.
And I always put myself into circles that I'm unfamiliar with, because that allows me to see the future as well. It allows me to see things from a totally different perspective. So I think that being a curve creator is one of the most amazing superpowers anybody could ever have. I used to cry because I didn't know how to work it. And this is real. This is a real story. I never forget sitting in my bed saying, push this stuff out of my mind. I can't do anything with it. I don't even know what to do with it. If I did. And one day I just decided to shift my prayer, to shift my thought process, and to more say, help me to understand how to utilize what you're putting in my mind. And when I started to take that route, it became a lot easier for me to accept my position and my purpose in life. And I live in it fully, freely, and lovingly. Even when people be giving me the side eye, I still be like, you don't know, but you'll see. And then they do. And then they come back and say, wow, Dee, that was crazy. And I say, no, I already, that's just who I am. So cool stuff.
That's the part that's so lovable about you. And so what is attractive about you as a woman, as a businesswoman, as a coach, you are someone who's fully actualized in her purpose. Like whether you know or 60% of the largest female-owned businesses started from scratch, but women, we are most likely to create franchises rather than invest in pre-established companies. So new businesses, brand new businesses from scratch. What for you was your aha moment that propelled you into entrepreneurship, and why did you choose the staffing industry?
So yeah, I think I've always been an entrepreneur. When I was a little kid, actually, I remember looking at the Toys R Us papers, saying to myself, one day I'm going to I'm going to own a shopping center, and I'm going to and I already knew which stores I was like 6 or 7 talking about this, and everybody was looking at me like I was weird. So I kind of knew that I didn't know what it was at that time, but looking back, I feel like I've always had that energy. Going through corporate America, I feel like it's like a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's a curse because you get stuck in a box, but it's a blessing because you really learn all of the things, or many of the things, that you need to know in order to go out and create and to be your own entrepreneur. It's kind of like a playing ground. And so, my first bit at entrepreneurship was actually starting a staffing business, and it crashed and burned in a very short period of time. I thought I could get it right, and it didn't work that way. And I went back into corporate America and started again, and then left corporate America again and went out on my own. And then I said, this is it. This is you're either going to do it or you're not. And so now I think it's been since 2011, but that, when you start thinking about that aha moment, it's when you realize your worth. I mean, that's the only thing that I can say. When you realize that you are worth so much more than the price tag that someone has decided to put on your head, or you're so much more worth than, like, you're building other people's companies. I'm taking all of my genius ideas and I'm building, and in many instances don't even get credit for it. Not that I need it, but like, hey, so that aha moment is about self-love. It's about worth. What am I capable of doing? Can I do this better? Can I do this in a grander way or in a greater way? Am I capable? And the answer is always yes. So, but it's just, can you bypass the fear or the doubt or the insecurities or the noise that's in your head and still step out there and do exactly what you want to do? And I think that that's something that most women, like, I love the statistic that you gave. I think it's very telling, and because most women in particular are bound by the thought process that their companies have given them. And so I can see where they want to immediately go into something that's structured. It's almost like a comfort zone or a pillow. But even with that, I can't tell you how many franchise franchise staffingpreneurs that I have now, because they realize very quickly that franchises don't provide the level of support or whatever the case that you need. And you are really better off just building it out yourself. But it takes time to get there. Like, just get your worth meter up. Mm-hmm. Meredith, I don't know if you know about the worth meter. I created this worth meter for my daughter, who's now 17, but
I know you put it in tech mode too. Go ahead. I want to hear that.
Listen, because I'm a creator, right? So she was having a situation, which I won't share. And when we got down and started peeling all the layers down, I realized that it boiled down to self-worth. So I went in on the wall and I drew a thermometer and I shaded in the bottom and let her know, honey, this is where you're floating. Your worth meter is here at the bottom. However, you see the top of this thermometer? That's who you really are. All of this in the middle is not potential in real life. It is all the pieces that you are missing from your heart and your soul. And I want you to fill that worth meter up. You don't have to do it immediately, but I want you to gradually, every day, fill that worth meter up. I want to see that worth meter go up. And then weekly, maybe every 2 weeks, she would go in as she started to feel better about herself and start filling it in. I feel this way about myself right now. I feel confident about this right now. Till we got to the point where it was full. Now this young lady's trying to tell me how to date, she's trying to tell me everything. Her worth meter is way up. So I encourage everyone to get that worth meter, check the thermometer, check the status of your worth. And if you know that you are worth more, take your worth meter to the top and go out there and do what God actually put in your heart and soul to do.
Yes, take the risk or lose the chance. I can just imagine you and Lyrics end up there doing that.
I am probably the weirdest mom on the planet. I actually was really excited about COVID from the perspective of my daughter staying home. I am that parent that was like, why do you have to go to school today?
I can't.
Like, I don't know any moms like you. I'm like, I want to play and you have to go to school. This is weird, you know? So we have a great relationship, but yeah. Me and Lyric doing that.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's fun to also watch it when you're doing like your webinars in our group, to see you guys interact, you and your son, and also you and your daughter, to see you all interact, because she's got so much in her. It's crazy. Well, Dee, as an African American woman, as a single mother, and someone who, just based off of the background that you have given many people, including myself, based off someone who chose to pursue entrepreneurship over a college education. Mm-hmm. Describe for us, what it was like, good, bad, the ugly, for you when you were working for someone and having the types of dreams and the types of goals and really the type of bold potential that you had or believed that you had at the time. What was it like for you?
Yeah, it was challenging because I didn't have a degree. And so they just assumed that I wasn't as smart as I was. Mm. And so I was always underestimated, overlooked, and underappreciated. And, I think this the last stint in entrepreneurship and working in corporate America for me was that moment that maybe I should have talked about earlier, that aha moment for me where I was just like, I'm over this. I can't deal with this anymore. When I said earlier, you go in as a corporate employee and you give your heart and soul, your time away from your children, away from your family, you give your time, and you're sharing your genius, and you're involved and you're committed and you're helping them grow, only for them to overlook you for that promotion, or for them to not value the ideas that you bring to the table. It was crazy challenging and very frustrating. But did it light a fire up under me, because I don't like to lose, first. Second, I can't stand somebody to tell me like what I can't do. And it's like, I almost, that's why I said, if I can be any more fearless, it's like I almost take that anger and that fear and that frustration and all of that and turn it into, let me show you better than I can tell you. And it becomes that way. You saw my face? It's real. You saw that? It was like, let me show you better than I can tell you. And then go and do it. right? And you didn't ask me this, but I'm going to tell you one of the most pleasing moments in the last 6 years that has been for me is almost all of my old bosses who doubted me have came back and apologized or said, man, I never imagined, like, or I always knew you had it, which I knew was lies, you know? So it's very interesting how everything kind of happens full circle, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But it's really rewarding when it does happen that way.
Wow. I believe they probably did believe in you all along, because I cannot see, just knowing you, I can't see someone not recognizing that fire in you.
But the thing is I'm a Black woman.
Well,
okay.
yeah.
I'm an African-American woman with no degree. You don't get leverage. I mean, I have no leverage, right? So at least according to corporate America, you know, I didn't have leverage according to them. So I don't know that they saw that. You know, I don't think that they even gave it an opportunity or gave me an opportunity to even show, you know, more than 25%, if that much, of who I really was. You all get to see it because now I'm in control. But they only got to get a piece of it. I don't think they saw that. I think they judged.
I hope you all are taking notes, because she just gave you a million nuggets right there. Right. Just in just that answer alone. But I hope you all are taking notes. Talking about that fire. How did you use that fire in order to transition from a steady 9 to 5 into the unknown life of being a full-time entrepreneur? And emphasis on full-time. That's what I always advocate for. Yeah. Become full-time in your business. Don't make it a side hustle. But how did you take that fire and use it to pivot?
Yeah. First of all, I've never had a side hustle in my life. I've always been full-time. Either I'm in or out. I'm kind of white or black, not gray, the way I function. So, so how did I use that fire? Like I said earlier, it was just more of, I'm gonna show you, you know, and I think that always gets me fired up. If somebody wants to see me do something miraculous, they just have to tell me I can't do it. And my brain I just turn into somebody different. And I think knowing that everyone was watching, but understanding that I was really my only cheerleader outside of my 3 children who I don't count, because they always go, oh, mom, you'll do it. You know what I'm saying? They don't really count. But, you know, everybody thought I wasn't able. Listen, the whole world. This is why I started out telling you a little bit about my story. Everybody thought I was going to be, you know, a baby mama, 50 kids, gold teeth, because I'm from Baltimore, right? Gold teeth in my mouth, you know, big earrings, chomping gum with 4 baby daddies and 6 kids. You know, they never expected in a million years that I would actually do the things that I've done and accomplish the things that I've accomplished. So I just need someone to give me that light that tells me that I can't, or that tells me that I can, either or. And I immediately, it's almost like, I'm going to be just really transparent with you all. Okay. And this is real. It's almost like the energy, you know, that energy you feel right in the middle of your chest is not the one in your stomach. Those are butterflies or gas. I'm talking about the ones right in the middle of your chest. No, seriously, because sometimes we don't identify feelings. And so people walk away trying to figure out what it is. I want it to be very clear. Like, that feeling you feel right there is the feeling of creation. It is the fire that I talk about, the fire that people feel when they watch my videos, or when they're in my presence, or when they're having a phone call with me. I can feel it brewing right in the middle of my chest. That same energy is the same energy you use to create babies, right? I know it sounds crazy, but it is. That's how you create. That's how you create. It's your heart. This lady, she calls it your heart muscle. But your heart isn't here. Your heart isn't where people act like your heart is. That's not really where your heart is, right? It really is almost in the middle of your chest, like right almost to the left of your bosom. So when you are feeling that in your chest right there, you are potentially in creation mode. Depending on, like, you can't be angry. You have to be full of joy, hope, love, you know, passion, excitement. If I can share for 1 second, there is energy levels here in and around us, their energy levels. And there's a halfway point, there's a high point, and there's a low point. Your everything below on the bottom of that energy scale is all about, I don't want to say negative feelings, but yeah, kind of negative feelings. It's depression, it's doubt, it's fear, you know, it's all of those things, jealousy, envy, all of those things are lower vibrational energies, right? And then you go up and you have higher vibrational energies, just love, passion, hope, desire, concern. Did I say compassion? Because that's important. Yes. You know, ecstasy is one of the highest forms of energy. Ecstasy. That's why we're able to create babies in that moment, because we're at that highest level on the highest level of the vibrational scale. And love.
You're out of your body.
Yeah, you're out of your body. And I think that I feel that way 90% of the time in real life, right? And so it's very easy for me to push it out to other people because I can't contain all that I have. I don't think it was meant for me to contain it either. I think it was always meant for me to share it with other people to, you know, so that it can circulate. It's energy. Energy should circulate.
I absolutely believe that 100%. And I believe that you do.
Welcome back to the She is in Charge platform, a resource where provocative, empowered, educated, and ambitious women come together to share our thoughts, experiences, and expertise about business as we know it through the lens of entrepreneurship and corporate leadership. My name is Meredith Ward, your career and startup business strategist, as well as the founder and CEO of In Charge Career Consulting, LLC, which is the parent company to the She is in Charge platform. For more resources, tips, and strategies about how you can advance your corporate career and entrepreneurial value, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel entitled She is in Charge, and also follow the hashtag She is in Charge on Facebook and Instagram TV. As usual, I hope you all enjoyed the conversation today. Please click like, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to share your comments below during the video.
Well, in leading on to that fire and to that thing that's inside of you to really go against the grain, when someone tells you that you can't do something, you move it on anyway. Another study shows that a lot of women tend to be way less optimistic than men when it comes to business performance. And for you, what were your significant and unexpected challenges that you faced as a full-time female business owner, particularly as a Black leader? Because I know when it comes down to the numbers and when we're trying to get business with different companies, especially in staffing, you don't have to relate it to staffing if you don't want to. It can be a weighing thing. But how have you managed to beat the odds?
Never giving up and not taking no for an answer, and also having tough skin. And that's the hardest part, because somebody who has a lot of fire, that means that I can be somewhat emotional or sensitive. I'm sensitive to energy. I'm sensitive to feelings. So that's the hardest part. That it's just having tough skin, because people are going to tell you no. People are going to be rude to you. They're going to say horrible things to you at times. And mainly you'll get a lot of no's. But you know, being able to turn those no's into yeses, or being able to turn those no's into a different perspective is always my goal. And that I found that that's a winning ingredient for being successful. So having thick skin, not accepting, you cannot accept no. Just because somebody says no doesn't mean anything. Like, you can literally try again in a day, or try again in a week, or try again in a month, or try a different approach, or move on to the next person and try a different approach. Just keep going without saying no. Can you read that statistic again? Because I missed the part and I found that very interesting.
Well, they just said the majority of women tend to be way less optimistic. It didn't give a percentage, but they tend to be way less optimistic than the male counterparts when it comes to our making our numbers, basically our business, and making the money in the business.
Okay. So yeah, and I'll say one thing about that, because that's what I thought I heard. I wanted to make sure. It goes back to something I said earlier, which is self-worth, self-love, and self-worth. I know that's kind of weird to talk about when you're talking about business, but they actually go hand in hand. And it's going to be hard for you to be super successful if you don't understand your worth and love yourself enough to embrace that. So when I first started in Identifize Consulting, that statistic rings very true. I felt like I should charge like the bare bottom because of all of those things that were in my head. And that was enough for me. I just wanted to get by or sustain my income. And I don't think at that point I had really realized what my worth was. And I never forget, I was on the phone with my coach who's in staffing. His name's Eric. And we were talking and he was like, I'm really proud of you for leaving the job and starting your own thing. How are things going? And then he got around to the big question, how much are you charging? And so I told him how much I was charging. He said, ×4. And I said, what? He said, ×4, Dee Williams. He said, you quadruple that price. And I said, Eric, I can't do that. Like, nobody's going to buy anything from me at that price. He said, Dee Williams, you don't know who you are. He said, I am your coach, but you don't realize that you are my coach. He said, everything, you're a beast in everything, ×4. And I got off the phone and I had to digest that for like a month or two before I actually had the guts to raise my price. So my first stint raising my price, I ×1. And I realized that actually more people were buying when I increased my price ×1. So one day I was on the phone and somebody asked about the price and I ×2 it. And they was like, okay, do you want my credit card number? And I said, wow. So then I started to do ×3. And then I started to get a little pushback from some people, but I still got some people. And when I did ×4, the thing that really shifted when I went and did exactly what my coach said was I started getting the customers that I wanted and that genuinely wanted to work with me. And they were freely paying me and engaged in my community and engaged in my world. And I got an opportunity to become engaged in their world. And that was one of the biggest lessons that I have learned is that, ×4. I tell my students now ×4. What you charging? ×4. Women do, I believe that's that statistic. I believe that we definitely don't realize our worth, but when you get it, and you know who you are and you can stand proud, and strong in who you are, honey, that ×4 for some of you will be ×8. Y'all gonna really see that people understand and value you and what you bring to the table. It's all about self-love and self-worth.
It's so funny to me how things come full circle because he coached you to ×4. You actually, I remember the conversation with you about my prices. And you know what you told me? ×6 that. And then I kept going back and forth with you. And you told me, you said, okay, you'll see. When you start doing these coaching calls, you'll see. And lo and behold, I saw. And it took me a while to start raising my prices because I was afraid that I wouldn't get any business. And then when I started doing it, I noticed that when I put a significant value on my work, then my customers value me. They started to actually see the value. Because otherwise it was just kind of like, you can't be that good if your price is that low.
Exactly. I wrote this guy's resume one time. This guy paid like $2,000 for a resume and it was like trash. And and somebody referred him to me. And this is when I was under my non-compete. I couldn't recruit. So I was literally for a whole year trying to make it. I actually made 6 figures, but I was trying to make it of writing resumes, right? And so when he called me, he's like, look, I heard you were like the best in the industry. I just paid this lady $2,000. My resume looks like crap. And can you fix it? I said, sure. He said, how much do you charge? I think I told him $5.99. He was like, oh, what? And I said, $5.99. He said, well, I'm not sure I want to pay you. And I said, why? And he's like, you don't charge enough. I said, well, you just got a $2,000 resume and it was crap. Like, why don't you just pay me the $5.99 and let me show you what I could do? And he did. And he went out and he got a job like a week or two. And he came back and said, so interesting, because I really wasn't going to pay you because the price was so cheap. I didn't believe that you would be able to do anything, but you need to raise your prices. He said, I would have gladly paid you $2,000 for that resume for what I received. So it's all about, like, if you charge too little, then people don't value you. They don't value what you have to say. But it does take women a little bit more time to figure that out. It's that self-worth that you have to really dig into.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall to hear her pitch though for a $2,000 resume.
I have had some really amazing experiences throughout my journey. Times 4. I call it times 4, and I probably did tell you times 6. And
you did.
The reason I probably told you is because you're dope. Like, you're amazing. You know what I'm saying? And so I could see that in you. I could see who you were and where you were going. And I just knew, like, you weren't going to get to where you wanted to be without really showing the world your value through the financial, in that financial medium. So I'm really proud of you. I know I said that already, but just saying, I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, Dee.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know we kind of let time go. How are you looking?
I'm great.
Okay. So She Is in Charge platform audience, I hope you all are getting the greatest out of this. I know that I brought on a person who shines like a diamond in my Rihanna voice. But really, this woman is full of value. She is pouring out billion-dollar nuggets to you right now. And so if you're trying to start a business, take notes. You can also go to the replay when we finish it. But just to continue on with the conversation, because I really want to get to the cannabis business.
Okay.
That is one that you have kept close to your hip. But before we go there, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, especially those who enter our world in staffing or in HR, and also as coaching, they are hit with a number of realizations and a number of pitfalls that tend to push them to their limits quite quickly. And as you know, a lot of people get discouraged once they experience the constant grind of what it means to really be in business. And then they just give up at some point instead of exploring the next best option. Mm-hmm. But can you describe for me something that you failed at in business that has had to force you to pivot? And what was it like going through that process of pivoting?
Oh, yeah. So this just happened last year. So it's very new. I'm still burning from it, but not really. So last year, and I built a mobile app, and it was called Mo Plan Do. And I had this grand idea of how to help my clients. I wanted to have kind of like a to-do list / an interactive to-do list / coaching platform / all these really cool things. And I actually see a lot of things that I did wrong in that process now, looking back. But then I was just so energized. I just went for it and built the app. I spent like $50,000 on this app, right? Ask me where the app is now, Meredith.
Well, I was going to ask you that because I thought it was an amazing, brilliant idea. Because of course I knew about it and I was trying to support it, but then I was like, she's not saying anything else about it.
Not saying anything about it. And so I spent a lot of money on a team that wasn't able to deliver fully. And that was very challenging, right? And I did I had a tour plan, like a 17-city tour. I had contacted some major companies who wanted to be a part of the app, got sponsors, and, packed my car with my dog and my daughter, drove from Atlanta to Los Angeles in 3 days. And, we stayed there for a week, went out to San Francisco. I was looking for a tech co-founder. And, I had all of these things going on, the tour coming up, and things started to fall apart almost immediately. We had one good weekend, and then everything really started to fall apart. We couldn't launch the app when we wanted it to because the tech wasn't working right. The girl that I had that was planning everything, she and I had a misunderstanding. And so she decided she was off and took her sponsors with her. And she brought the sponsors on. Girl, COVID happened.
Oh my God.
COVID happened while I was in San Francisco getting ready for my first real spot on the tour. talking about somebody looking at herself like, WTF, like for real, like. And I just remember sitting down and people texting me, like, I'm trying to log into the app. It won't let me. I can't. It was like so embarrassing. And, you know, I definitely probably cried a couple of days or so. And that was very, very challenging. But the pivot is what is the shining point of this story. So after COVID hit and I had to cancel everything and I lost so much money, in the process, I sat back and I had to kind of think about, okay, so what's my next move? And sometimes you have to step away from things in order to see a whole picture. Yes. So instead of me moving immediately and firing the tech firm and, you know, doing all this, I just stopped. I just didn't do anything. But I was still moving. And let me explain that. My mom used to call it mark time. Like if you're in a marching band, mark time, march, right? Marking time. They're still marching, but they're not moving forward, right? So I was still working. I was still moving, but I wasn't moving forward on my app. And so once I had an opportunity to sit back and kind of evaluate my failure, that's exactly what it was. I started to think about all of the feedback that I had gotten along the way. Like some people was like, we hated the name. It didn't have a good vibrational energy to it. Or some people said the app was doing too much. I couldn't understand what the basis was. So it really, I got a lot of feedback. And I just took that feedback and said, okay, so how can I shift this into something that's still very meaningful for my client base? That I may not have to spend as much money on, and where did I fail in this last predicament, and how can I do things differently? And I don't know about you, but I keep these like super large Post-it notes all over my walls.
I don't.
Okay, they're everywhere. My house is, you would think, looking at me, knowing me, that I'm the super decorator. No, I need mind space. Okay, I need MIND space. And as long as it's in my head, I feel like it's kind of clumped up in there and I can't really do anything. I'm a visual. So I have to literally pour it out onto paper. And sometimes I could be writing and just be walls and walls and walls of writing. So that's what I did. I started putting up mind space in my app, in my Airbnb. My daughter was like, "Here we go," because she already knows what's about to happen. And I pivoted, and that pivot resulted in me creating Reskillify, which is a SaaS. It's an online program, software as a service, where professionals, and I say audacious go-getters, right? Where they can come in and really level up in their career, in their business, and in their life. Because I feel like if your life is in shambles, your career really doesn't feel that great. You know, if your career is great, then life probably doesn't feel that, you know, they all kind of have to go together. And we should be constantly learning on a consistent basis. We should never stop learning. We should always be looking to figure out how we can get to that next level, how we can power up. If you watch Dragon Ball Z, Goku has powered up so many times. He's now like Ultra Instinct Goku, right? Like he is fully powered up. You have to keep powering up over and over and over and over and over again. You can't stay stagnant. I think that's how people die early, actually. I think they die early because they forget that they're here to create. But that's a whole nother topic. We have to talk about that later, Meredith. So
that's true, though.
No, it's true. That's true. That pivot, though, kind of happened there. And luckily, I have an audience. So I was able to bring my audience in. I just planned out what I wanted to do step by step. And I actually started to put things into place. And things just really worked out. We now have over 1,000 beta users on the Reskillify platform. Okay. Okay, so that's awesome. We are officially launching the mobile app. It'll be on Android and iOS in about a month or so. So that's kind of quiet. Hush, hush, they don't know that. And we've gotten great reviews right within the app. I mean, people go there and they immediately love it. We have not even fully launched. We've only launched the student side, and I've only been testing the app out with my courses. Remember, I told you kind of got to put your foot out there and test things to see if they'll work. So I put my foot out there, and the moment people got on Reskillify, they was like, this don't work, don't like this. And I was like, keep it coming. And then I started giving it to my developer, and he started to fix things. And now the course, the side for the students it's just amazing. We're like 100% done for the most part. We're going to add some emojis so everybody can represent their skin color. And I think that's the last thing that we're adding. And then we'll build out the instructor side. And Meredith, you are not ready for the plan that I have for the instructor side. I'm just taking my time. I'm not in a rush. I'm taking my time.
That's all I wonder. Am I invited to be an instructor? Hello.
Of course. So, pivoting is cool. It's okay to pivot. It hurts your ego for sure. And it can be super embarrassing. And some people who don't understand the plight of being an entrepreneur even said things like, this is a disgrace. You should be embarrassed. Wow. They said things like, some people quit, and said, I expected more from you. A lot of things, I heard, but I had to keep pushing because you have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe in your purpose and what you're doing. And if you don't do that, then why would anybody else believe in you? So that's what that pivot did. I just kept believing in myself. And this pivot has turned out to be 10 times better than what MoPlan Do probably could have ever been.
Wow. You are amazing, Dee Williams.
Thank you.
I have one final question for you before we close out. I'm not going to have time, I guess, to get to the cannabis question before, because I really want you to hit on a little bit about your cannabis.
No, let's hit on it a little second, please. I think a lot of people want to look. Cannabis is about to be legal in every state, so we do have to hit on it. I have a little bit of time, but go ahead. What's your last question?
Okay, well, good. Let me ask this final question, then we're going to go back to cannabis. I hope you all are enjoying this, audience. Comment below. Make sure you share your thoughts, ask your questions. This is a platform where you get to engage, but what advice would you give for those entrepreneurs who are out there who are multifaceted and are pursuing multiple streams of income? How might they want to go about managing or juggling multiple or various lines of business or projects? Because that happens. I'm one of those people who's multifaceted, and you gave me a very solid piece of advice a few years ago when I came to you. And I think we were talking, it was probably 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, Dee, I want to take my business and expand it. I want to scale my business, because at the time I only had the staffing company. And I'm like, I have so many other talents that I want to share and that I want to try, but I didn't know where to start.
Right.
What advice do you have for people like that?
So the first thing I love this question. So the first thing I would say is, yes, 7 streams of income plus or more is great, but you actually want to be a little bit more methodical about your income streams. Most people actually just pick things that they think are hot, or if somebody introduces them to something, then they just go into it. But it is my thought process that you will get lost and your 7 streams won't actually function the way you want them to, because you're all over the place. So I believe that you should start off with your core purpose. I call it a core purpose, but it's the thing that you love to do the most, right? So for me, staffing is what I love to do the most. So that is the centerpiece. That's the nucleus for me. And then you build your other income streams from what you've created from that core piece. You understand what I'm saying?
That's
so
let me give
you a visual. That's how you do it. It's how you create an empire. It is how you create an empire. And it's very simple. So I started out with my staffing business. Out of my staffing business, I became a resume writer. And so I actually had that stream of business, which actually still lives. I don't write resumes as much. Like, you have to beg me to do it, honestly. But that's an income stream that is very much so real in my world. But in addition to that, I also coach. I'm a coach and advisor. So I'm a coach and advisor for corporate companies, right? So like, and then I have another stream where I'm a coach and advisor for staffing agencies. And then I have another stream where I'm a coach and advisor for professionals who are looking to start their own staffing business. What has come out of that is now my e-learning platform, Reskillify. What's also come out of that is the Cannabis Job Board, which is also, and I could keep going. So now, do you see how your income grows? That's not including your e-commerce store. That's not including your live webinars. You know, you have to start with the nucleus first. What is the core thing that you're going to focus on? What is everybody going to know you for? And that you're going to consistently stay consistent around that. And then you take that and you start building out what you believe you can accomplish through that core network, because you need a core group of people to say, hey, I'm in, I believe in you, and I'm willing to purchase from you. And once you get that core, that core group, it becomes very easy to build your empire further out, because they'll start to tell you what they want and what they need. And if they trust you and they love you and they know that you're genuine and that you're really there to support them, they will jump on the bandwagon because they know it's also going to benefit them. And so that's what I would tell you to do. Don't go and just look for, MLM here, MLM there, real estate here, staffing there. Like, if it doesn't make sense with your core, then you're going to be all over the place. And it's going to be very hard to manage things. Not only is it going to be hard to manage things, it's going to be hard to put the pieces together so that one audience will purchase everything that's in your world. Right. So if you're in real estate and then you're doing staffing and you can't lock them in, you got two separate markets. You're not able to duplicate. You're not able to automate. You're not able to do anything. And now you're in prison. You're in prison in your business because now you have all of these things. Then it doesn't feel good anymore. And now your empire is crumbling. And now you're asking me, Dee, how do I pivot? So you have to, it's a strategy. And I work with people every day. They call me, I have one-on-ones and they say, okay, Dee, this is my core. How do I build this out? And then we go through and we build those blueprints out so that you can get a better understanding of what you have the ability to generate. The other thing I would say is don't expect your empire to grow overnight. Like, you have to take your time with it. And one thing that I would say is very, very important with that core is actually taking time to talk to people. And don't get like high on your horse. Like, I am a CEO. You shouldn't have access to me. I still answer my phones.
Let me tell you this. That outside of all of the awesome advice that you've given about making sure you grow your streams of income, that's the same advice that you gave me, and now the advice that I share with other people. It's funny how things work. That's why I'm particular about who you allow to pour into you. Because who pours into you, you're going to pour out that same thing. And so, yes, that's definitely the method I've been following with building out my business, making sure that I stick to my core. But I cannot tell you how many times, just in this past year, how many times I have literally reached out to people to connect with them to do business. The CEOs that are out there, the ones who are in emerging or startup businesses, and they tell me, oh, I don't have 15 minutes. And my thing is, if you don't have 15 minutes to exercise, you don't have a life. And so if you don't have 15 minutes in your business to connect and network, you don't have a business, because how are you growing your business, especially as a startup CEO?
Exactly.
So yes, come off the high horse. In fact, you might need to drop that title and just stick to basic.
And just get into your audience, get into your market, like literally get in. Like it's not uncommon for me to pick up the phone. Okay, so this morning I saw a lady in one of my free groups, and she is always commenting. And when people have questions, she's answering it. But she's not in my paid group. She's in my free group. And then for the first time in a few years, we started running ads, right? We were like, oh, we're making all of this money without ads. Imagine what we could do if we ran ads, right? So we started testing ads. And under the ad, she wrote this long testimonial. It was so beautiful about how the contracts or something was so great. So this morning I'm looking for somebody else in the system and I saw her name. I said, this name is very familiar. And I looked and saw that she had purchased a few of my products. I went back on Facebook and saw, so I picked up the phone and called her. And I was like, this is Dee Williams. She was like, oh my God, why are you calling? Like, what is this about? I said, actually nothing. I actually am just calling to say thank you and to just see where you are in your business and see if I can lend you any tips. Like, she was like, oh my God. We talked for about 45 minutes to an hour. Just know my price is $375 an hour. I gave that freely because I'm just so appreciative for the things. This lady has never talked to me a day in her life. She's only seen my YouTube videos. So it was very heartwarming to see her really getting into the brand. So then I told her, like, I gave her all of these tips and everything. You have to get into your market. You have to like really humble yourself and talk to your audience. Pick up the phone and call them. Send them an email. This week, we're sending out secret packages. So they don't even know. There are people who are not members of mine who I just see that are active. We have these cute little grab bags for them. We're actually going to put in the mail the address that they've made a purchase on my store and send it to them as a gift. They have no clue it's coming. It's just my way of saying thank you for pouring into yourself. Thank you for allowing me to pour into you. And I just want to let you know I'm here with you on this journey. I don't care if you ever buy anything from me again or if you don't. I just want you to know you have somebody cheering for you on the back end. And when you do things like that and you're really sincere about doing those things, you don't have to worry about whether or not your empire is going to grow or not, because you are pouring into people and they are going to pour back into you. And it becomes now a very beneficial relationship. It's a mutual relationship. And I have like some of my clients are like my best friends, not really my best friends, but yeah. I mean, we talk, we go out for drinks and different things like that because they stayed in my community. They've been in my community for 5, 6, 7, 8 years in real life. It's crazy. So you do have to like just pour into your market. I know I talk a lot, Meredith. I'm sorry. While I have this moment and they're watching and listening, I feel like I want to just help them so that they don't give up. I want you to just keep going. And I hope that the things that I'm sharing with you are things that will give you that aha moment and make you feel like, okay, I can do this. And I hope that you do them. So I appreciate you.
You are just as authentic and generous as you've always been. Such a beautiful spirit. But no, I don't mind you talking. This is just going to be a very long interview. So it'll be fine because they're getting value, nothing but value. But I really quickly want to hit on your cannabis business. And I keep saying cannabis business, but it's a cannabis job board.
Right.
Hey, you never really talk about this one, but I know you don't do anything that doesn't make money. So tell us about that. How did you get into the cannabis business from a job board perspective?
Right. So, I told you about how I create my empire. So it just made sense to have a job board, but I didn't want to just have any job board. And so when cannabis, I guess the first couple of states became legal, I became one of the first, I think 143 people in the country to become certified as a cannabis consultant.
I remember that.
I went to class. I took the class, stayed in for hours, and they had us doing different things. I learned so much. And I knew that I wanted to do something in the cannabis industry. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a hardcore consultant because I really love what I do in staffing. I wasn't sure if I wanted to open up a staffing business. I really wanted to do something where I could be hands-on in the cannabis industry, but somewhat hands-off, if that makes sense. And so a job board really, really made sense. So we launched in 2015 and it did really good for a couple of years, but it was just very slow in kicking off the ground because it was illegal almost everywhere, right? And so, and I lived in an illegal state in Georgia, who will probably be one of the last states, right? It'll be one of the last states, right? And so I knew it was going to be kind of a long haul kind of thing, like, something, it was a long game business. So this year, so I'm building 2 techs at the same time. This year, during COVID, I thought it was a great opportunity to shut the Cannabis Job Board down and to come back and rebuild it up with new technology, new parsing technology and different things like that. And we're still building. We have a client base. Again, we have beta users, I call them. And it's live, but they're really there to tell us what to fix. My stint in California was absolutely amazing. I think I visited almost every dispensary there, and I purchased from every dispensary there just so that they would know that I'm serious. And then I would go back and say, I want to interview you for my blog and different things like that. So we have tons of interviews that will be coming out on our YouTube channel for the Cannabis Job Board, and tons of employers that were really excited about what we were doing. And I believe in 2021, we will really be able to see the fruits of our labor, because one of the big things that's taking place this year is, will cannabis be legal now on a federal level? And we know that it's going to pass. We feel very confident that it's going to pass. And when it does, that's going to change the whole game. Right now, we only have 17 staffing agencies in the United States that service the cannabis industry. And this is the beginning of the market. This is the very beginning of the market. And most people think you have to come in and touch the product, and you really don't. Like, you have to think about it. If it's a brand new market space, then who's developing their websites? Who's their payment credit card processing company? Who's designing the merchandise? Who's doing their branding? You can have an ancillary business that is still a part of the cannabis industry, as I did with the Cannabis Job Board, where you're able to benefit from the growth and being in a new space, but also not necessarily have to touch the product or be responsible for distributing the product or anything like that. I believe, as the creator that I am, 2021 is going to be the year that the Cannabis Job Board sees its most success. I also believe that I will have the ability to expand my empire even beyond that in the cannabis space. There is so much opportunity. And the fact that I'm a consultant for the Cannabis Certified Consultant really gives me leverage to be able to talk to people that I probably wouldn't have been able to talk to before, and to be able to really, sit down and have some real serious conversations about the industry, where it's going, and what we can do to help solve the major problems within the industry. And that's what being an entrepreneur is all about, solving problems. And I love a great challenge.
Now, also in your staffing these cannabis companies, are you, because I know cannabis is now, they turn it into CBD, where it doesn't have the same physical effects. Are you staffing both cannabis companies that are selling the actual full-on plant and CBD companies? If
so
there's
I'm
a difference.
not staffing, it's just the job board.
Okay.
So it's just the job board, but I work with 2 cannabis staffing agencies, and they staff for everything. It doesn't matter whether. Most staffing agencies are staffing for like trimmers, bud tenders. They call them bud tenders, but they're the folks you go when you go into the dispensary. They're giving you all, and these people are geniuses. Just FYI, if you're in Cali, you can go into a dispensary and they're actually growing it right there in the dispensary. You can walk into there and they'll tell you all about what they're doing, and they're all different types of ways to grow. So you can tap into everything. I mean, I'm just job board-ish. That's where I stay at right now. But in the future, I definitely have ideas. I was thinking about a delivery service because, right now with COVID and everybody, wanting to work from home, I thought that was a great idea. I thought about doing kind of a Netflix for the cannabis industry. Because people are always looking for, what are other people doing, where the strains coming from, how they're growing their strains. And it's not like one central location for it. I'm working with a young lady right now who had an idea of doing a Etsy version of a cannabis version, Etsy version, but for the cannabis industry. Right. So like I said, it's like such an open market. You could do so much with it. It's like, like entrepreneurial orgasm in real life. It's like, ooh, what am I going to do? So I'm just like, let me just get the Cannabis Job Board up and going and stable and get my staff together and our processes. And then I can start thinking about how to expand the brand.
I know it's going to be absolutely amazing, just like everything you do. Everything you touch turns into gold. And so I am, again, super proud of you. And audience, I hope you all realize this is the type of coaching. This right here is probably a level 5 to her level 10 coaching that she does. Her energy right now is not on 10 like it normally is. I know it does seem like she's a high energy person, but this is Dee Williams. Dee, thank you so much for joining me today for the show. She is in charge. I really appreciate you. I appreciate all the beautiful nuggets that you have dropped today. And tell us how we can get in contact.
Okay, well, before I do that, I got to share my quotes. Can I share my quotes?
Oh, let's get to those. Trust me. I'm going to tell us. Okay, go ahead. Tell us your favorite.
Okay, yes. This is so important. Okay, so first of all, Meredith, the daytime has gone away in my background. Have you noticed that?
I noticed. I was like, why is the screen getting darker? But we go.
Can I turn the light on? Is that?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, hold on. I just want to make sure it's acceptable. Hold on, because I can't see, you know.
We are flowing today. I swear, this is my business coach, Dee Williams, in her normal true form.
I'm sorry, okay. So my quotes, I have 3. I'm sorry, I had to bring 3. It's from one of my favorite people in the world. I just met him maybe 3 months before he passed away, and that's Nipsey Hussle. Okay. And I listen to Nipsey all the time. I'm very inspired by him. He reminds me of me, like a younger version of me. So I have 3 quotes from Nipsey, and I think they will tie into everything we talked about today. The first one is, instead of trying to build a brick wall, lay a brick every day. Eventually, you'll look up and you'll have a brick wall.
All right. Definitely.
My second one, if you look at the people in your circle and you don't get inspired, you don't have a circle, you have a cage.
That is my favorite one from him.
Yeah, that's intense. And then my final one is, I'm about long-term, seeing a vision, understanding nothing really worthwhile happens overnight, and just sticking to your script long enough to make something happen. You just have to stick to your script long enough to make things happen. And that's really my story, as we talked about today. My circle, laying my bricks, and being in that long game, and staying focused. And so I had to share my quotes because, you know, Nipsey, he'll keep you right.
I was going to get to those quotes. Trust me, I was not going to let you leave without giving your quotes. And I'm not going to let you leave now without sharing additional information about the new products, services, or any upcoming events, and also letting us know how we can get in contact with you.
Yes. So visit Reskillify.com. And it spells just like it sounds, Reskillify.com, and become a beta tester on the platform. If you want to learn how to start your own niche recruitment and staffing agency, my best course is right there on Reskillify, or you can go to staffingpreneursacademy.com. You can also, if you're interested in me personally, I am d-williams.com. And then of course the cannabisjobboard.com if you want to become a beta tester on that too.
Dee, tell us more about your documentary also.
Okay, great. So if you really want to get into my background, my documentary is called Individual Audacity, and it's on YouTube. So if you just type in Individual Audacity, it's about 2.5 hours long. Make sure you have tissue and make sure you're ready to be inspired. But I would definitely check it out, and then leave me a comment or send me a message. I get so many messages, so much love after people see the documentary. They say that it's really transforming their lives and their families. So I hope you enjoy it.
And Individual Audacity is going to have you crying. So yeah, grab your tissues.
You're right.
Thank you again, audience, for joining us today. For more resources, tips, and strategies that will help you take charge of your ambitions and maximize your value in the corporate workforce and entrepreneurial space, please subscribe to the She Is in Charge channel. Click the bell icon to receive notifications about upcoming videos. And again, be sure to like, comment below, and share this video with your friends.
So amazing. Girl, you are